And y'all just don't love fun, cute romances. Somebody compare Honey and Spice to It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. Here you go, it's enemies to lovers. Two enemies with each other over this job. The only enemy here is capitalism. Hello, what's good everybody, and happy Valentine's Day. Yours truly has never been in a romantic relationship, so obviously I think I'm the best person to give you book recommendations that I think show the best portrayal of romance in romantic relationships. You're welcome. No, but in all seriousness, when I was younger, I did not like rom-coms, did not like romance books. Anytime I read a book or watched a movie, I was like, ew, romance. Feelings? Intimacy? No thank you. Go back to the action, please. I want where's the funny stuff? Give me the action. Everything else was secondary. I was not much of a romantic intimacy type of person. But now, in my adulthood, since I've gotten back into reading and I grew the F up, I've been in my romance bag for like the past 2 years, and I've been having so much fun. It's a lot of fun. Reading romance is so much fun. It's so much less, for me, stressful than reading fantasy, because when I read a fantasy book, I get attached to these fake characters, and then authors love to kill off these fake characters, and then I get sad, and then I don't want to read it anymore. There's just problems in here. And this isn't to say like romance is just easier, but romance is just set in a familiar space than fantasy, where you'll have to learn magic systems and learn world building and everything. Pay attention to a bunch of new characters. You know what I mean? But there are a lot of romance books that I've come in contact with where I've recently realized like what I like in a romance, which might not be what everybody else likes in a romance. I've definitely figured out what I like from books and what I like in romance stories. So without further ado, let's get into it. Warning right now, I love cartoon covers, so most of the pop-ups that you're going to see will be of books with cartoon covers. Do they have adjacent covers with real people on them? Or just that are just different and discreet? Sure, but your girly loves cartoon covers. I'm so sorry about it, but I'm not. And not just any cartoon cover, by the way. It needs to be detailed. Like, I need Lenny. I need Trishelle. I don't need, like, whatever this is. And so sorry to the artist who ever made these covers. It's just not for me. Anything that, like, no attention to detail, no faces either, it's not my jam. Attention to detail all the way. Now yes, even though I'm a fantasy girly at heart, I love romance books. My favorite trope is friends to lovers because it's top tier. It will hit every single time for me. You write it correctly, which most of these book recs, they have written it correctly. Not any like, oh, well, I don't want to ruin our friendship if we get in a relationship type energy. No, I just don't like romance that's built off of animosity, and that's what enemies to lovers brings every single time. Well, a majority of the time, I should say. A lot of authors out there, y'all write enemies to lovers when it's actually just an abusive relationship that you packaged in an enemies to lovers little box, and then you say, here you go, it's enemies to lovers. It's giving he's incredibly abusive and she just takes it and doesn't understand why he's so mean. It's giving, well, he's mean to you because he likes you. None of that. I can't stand that at all. Enemies to lovers, especially in like a contemporary setting, why does it exist? Rivals I get, if it's like academic, sure. But enemies? Why? Just why? We work in an office building. Why are you two enemies? Why are you two enemies with each other over this job? The only enemy here is capitalism. I don't understand why you two are butting heads when you should be butting heads with the system. Like, you need to join forces. When they say enemies to lovers should only belong in fantasy, I 100% agree. But I also think, like, the playing fields need to be even, or else we're gonna get, like, this weird power balance. It's not gonna be the same. It's gonna be oppressor versus the oppressed in a romantic relationship, and I'm not with that at all. And y'all are gonna hate this. Some people said they said this, not me. They said this, not me. That people who ship Zutara, which if you don't know, Avatar: Last Airbender, Zuko, Katara, people who ship that give very much. So sorry you had to find out this way. This ship gives very much the same energy as when Disney tried to make us think that Pocahontas and that white man was like cute. It does, if you think about it for like longer than 5 seconds. And so sorry, but that's what they saying. That's what they saying. I went off on a weird tangent. Let's just get back into the book recs. Some of these will go by author, and some of these will go by just the book in general. Now, there might be a lot of authors on this list that you've already heard of already, but I don't necessarily care. I want to talk about them anyway. For our first book recommendation, we're starting off with YA. First book recommendation for YA romance. Joya Goffney. I think for young black girls in particular, she has a great series for young black women, just showcasing complexities in relationships, young people understanding relationships, growing pains. I highly recommend Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry, because did I ugly cry when I finished it? Yes, I did. All of these books in this category are books that I wish that I had when I was growing up, because I didn't have the variety. Every other book was either not targeted towards young black women. I think the only one that I did have was Everything, and I was already in high school at that point, or I was in middle school going to high school. And then the other type of YA book I had was Dork Diaries, and I didn't even know that author was black until well into high school, and I have already outgrown the series. There's the third Joy Goffney book that I have not read yet that I need to get to, and it is on my TBR list. But yes, Joy Goffney, A+. Another YA romance book that I just absolutely adored and I couldn't put down, Love Radio by Ebony Liddell. Did I mainly love it because her name's Ebony, my name's Ebony? Obviously, I have that biasy. This book follows Prince Jones and Danny Ford. Now, Prince Jones wants to be a DJ. He's got two main hobbies, right? He's a DJ, he's a radio host, but he also is really all about love and relationships, and he finds himself having a crush on this girl named Danny that goes to his school. Danny's a writer. She's really focused on her academics, worried about getting into college. I think in this book, they're in the junior, senior year of high school. And when Prince meets Danny, he's like head over heels, just wants to win this girl over. It's so cute. The relationship is so cute because Danny's not really looking for being in a relationship, but she loves spending time with Prince. And there's so many cute scenes in it that make my little black girl heart swoon. One thing I love about this book, not only does it really focus on the romance, but we also talk a lot about just black culture in general, where Prince is really into music, so we get a lot of talk about him and his passion for music and his love for black musicians and black music artists. And when it comes to Danny and her being a writer, she also talks about her passion for writing and all these black writers that she looks up to. I just thought it was a really cute young adult romance. Another adorable young adult romance that I put on the same caliber as Love Radio, that if you know me, you know I will never stop talking about this book. I adore this book so much. We have Finding Jupiter by Kellis Rowe, another YA black love story following Orion and Ray. It's the summertime. Orion and Ray meet at a roller rink, and Orion immediately is head over heel for this girl with these pink braids who's extremely confident in herself, and he wants to spend more time with her. And over the course of the summer, they spend a lot of time together, getting to know each other, but they also have this traumatic, harmful past between each other that might have some complications involving their love story together. This book gives very much star-crossed lovers. I just adored everything about this book. I adored Orion and Ray's character. Orion, a lot like Prince Jones again, just the most just extreme sweetheart energy, just little lover boy. Meanwhile, we have Orion, which is a lot like Danny in the previous book, where they're not really looking for a relationship, but they're like, I like this guy, he's great. Also within the book, there's a lot of poetry and imagery throughout it, and I just found it beautifully written. I have so many posts about this book. I absolutely adore this book. I adore this book so much that I have no words. And don't you hate that? When you hate a book so much, you can say so many things about it that are awful, but when you love a book so much, you just, you're speechless. You're speechless at how good it is. I don't know how else to tell you how good this book is without shoving the book in your face and making you read it. And if you don't think this book is good, you should just go follow my mutuals that also read the book after I recommended it and said that I was right. They said I was right, so you should also think that I'm right. That's just how that works. I don't make the rules, so sorry. Another book that I read last year that I just couldn't get out of my head was They Hate Each Other by Amanda Woody. It's a fake dating, queer romance following Dylan and Jonah. Now, Dylan and Jonah are very standoffish towards each other. They don't really get each other. They're two very different personalities, but their friends are like, ooh, opposites attract. You guys should date each other. And then they decide, okay, fine. Yeah, we will. Whatever. We're gonna date each other, and then we're gonna have this horrible breakup so they can get off our backs. That was the whole plan during the book. And as they get to know each other during this fake relationship, they learn more about each other's lives, why the other person are the way that they are, what's going on in their home lives, having really serious discussions about that. It's just another one of those YA, like, coming of age romance stories that I love. Found it adorable and also humorous. Highly recommend. Okay, time for all the little kitties to get out of the room. Get out of the room because it's time for adult romance. Contrary to popular belief, I am a grown woman even though I do look like I'm 12. We're starting off with a friend of mine. I have her book right here. This is her debut novella by Mieko May. Take a Chance by Mieko May follows Cyrus and Cassandra as they are on this vacation. They just spend some time together and they hook up and spend the rest of their lives together. And that's honestly the gist of it. It's short, it's sweet, it's cute. It's a novella. We love novellas. We stand novellas. And I think Miyako's working on her second book right now, which I'm really excited for. I just like tooth-achingly sweet books, and this was a tooth-achingly sweet novella that I think everyone would love. Also, look at that cover. Get into it. Get into the cover. Yes, everyone should go follow Miyako and support her in her author journey because she's an author now. She's an author. She's published. She's published. Next book recommendation, Honey and Spice by Bolu Babalola. The amount of weird hate that this book gets will never make sense to me. I don't get it. I thought we loved fun, cute romances, and for this one, y'all just don't love fun, cute romances. I get it, I guess. I don't know. It is a fake dating new adult romance following Malachi and Kiki. Again, a lot like Love Radio, this one, where Kiki hosts a radio show giving relationship advice. Malachi is kind of the player heartbreaker at their university, and because of a school assignment, they both find a way that they could help each other within that assignment, which ends up in this fake dating plot where Kiki, so turned off from relationships, starts falling from Malachi. A lot of these straight romances that I have are just the girl is not really into relationships and the guy's like, I will treat you right, girl. Don't even worry about it. You will be into relationships after you see how I treat you like a queen. I thought it was cute and funny and I don't understand why people hate it. I saw somebody compare Honey and Spice to It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, which doesn't make any sense at all. Isn't that book about like an abusive relationship that she marketed as a love triangle, and you're trying to look at me and tell me that that's similar to Honey and Spice, which is just like a fake dating plot set in the same type of system like Dear White People? I did block that person immediately, and if they find this video, you deserved everything. You deserve to be blocked because how dare you? How did you come to that conclusion? How did you do that? I'm still irritated by that, but I highly recommend Honey and Spice, okay? It's cute and it's fun. Next book recommendation I have is Office Hours by Katrina Jackson. It's more of an erotica romance, and I picked it up because the discreet cover, or not even discreet cover, the cartoon cover caught my eye. I saw it while I was scrolling on Twitter, and there was a lot of discourse about it on Twitter where people were just like, upset about it because it was a bit risque. So obviously I had to purchase it and read it. And I did, and it was great. It was amazing. We follow these two university professors where our main girl has a big crush on this other professor and he secretly does like her back. And it's great. And they start just hooking up, getting to know each other, forming this relationship while also just being stressed out with their schedules at this university that they work at. Not short, sweet, and to the point, but sweet and to the point. I don't even remember if there was a third act breakup in that one or not. Maybe just like they took a break because they were just so busy. But it was cute. It was erotic. It was great. Now we're going to get into my book recs that are really book series recs or just author recs in general. First on my list I have is Ng Peltier. You've probably seen her covers around before. I know Sweet Hand was very popular. A lot of people didn't like Sweet Hand, but that is okay. I think she's another author that I love that writes short, sweet, cute romances. This romance series that she has in particular is a baking romance series. The first book is Sweet Hand, where we follow a baker, and she is the maid of honor at, I can't remember if it's the friend or if it's her sister's wedding. And we have our male love interest, who is the best man at this wedding, and these two cannot stand each other. It's an enemies to lovers in a contemporary setting, but I don't really think like they are enemies. Rather just like they've had beef since they were children. Petty beef. So the petty beef continues into their adulthood. It's just extremely just pettiness. And I don't remember a lot about this book other than I love the cover and I love Ng Peltier, and that's about it. The resolve at the end might have involved singing, and I know how we feel about singing in books. Don't listen. There's no worry about just turn off your brain and just have fun. Just turn off your brain and have fun, okay? The second book in the series follows the baker's assistant and the male main character's older brother, where he needs help like getting in with the bosses at work, and they're hosting a baking competition, and he's like, well, I don't want to bother my brother's girlfriend, I'll bother her assistant. And it's Grumpy Sunshine. I adore Grumpy Sunshine with my whole heart because grumps are not mean. Stop writing grumpies as a-holes. Grumps are not mean. They're just introverted, right? They're just a bit introverted. Nothing wrong with that. And they have like RBF. So they may look around a room and you might think that person's an angry person, and if I come up to them, they're gonna be rude to me and they look intimidating. No, they're quite literally just minding their business. If you get to know them a little bit, you'll know that they're really sweet. They're just introverts, okay? That was a random tangent. But first book, second book, third book coming out, Sapphic. I don't know if it has a lot to do with baking because the title doesn't really give me that it has a lot to do with baking. This one follows both of the brothers' sister, and it's a sapphic romance. And it seems like single parent as well from the little child in the background on the cover. Adorable cover art. I'm so excited. Highly recommend. Another author that writes short, sweet, to the point, cute romances, Mimi Grace. There's not enough words that I can rave about Mimi Grace, particularly these three books. There's another book that she has that I'm not really that fond of. It did make me angry, so that's why it's not on here. But this series of books is chef's kiss. First book, Fake Dating. Our girl is invited to the wedding of her ex-man, so she brings along this guy that works in the building next to her as her date to the wedding, and he's into her, so he's okay with it. It was short, sweet, to the point, and it also made me laugh a little bit. I remember it making me laugh. Second book is my favorite Mimi Grace book of all time, What a Match. It's also a Grumpy Sunshine, because I told you I love Grumpy Sunshine. What a Match follows Anthony and Gwen. Now, Anthony is the best friend of our main guy in the first book. They work at this gym that's next door to our main girl in the first book, and these two are best friends, and Anthony is head over heels with his best friend's sister, Gwen. Gwen thinks that he doesn't really like her, just because, again, he's just extremely introverted. He doesn't talk much. He doesn't have a lot of friends. He just keeps to himself. So because he's not a social person, she thinks like, oh, he just doesn't like people in general. No, he's just a bit antisocial, but he's really sweet when we get to know him, and he is extremely sweet in this book. Anthony, his apartment gets ruined, his like entire apartment complex in ruin, and he has to find somewhere else to stay. So his best friend asks Gwen, like, oh, can he stay with you? He can't stay with me. I don't have space. And Gwen's like, okay, sure, he can stay at my place. And they spend more time together, get to know each other, become attracted to each other. I found it very cute. I think the third book is an enemies to lovers romance with a plus size MC. She gains the inheritance of this business that she knows nothing about, and the owner and the actual people that work in the business are very frustrated with that. The person who does own the business, who wanted to own the business, who wanted the business to be left in his name, is like butting heads with our main girl in the third book. Another enemies to lovers in a contemporary setting, which y'all probably won't vibe with. But that's fine, that's okay. That's not my business. If you don't vibe with it or not, you should just read my favorite, which is What a Match. Did someone ask for more short, sweet, to the point romances? I have another one for you. Anise Starr. I think that's how you say her name. And Anise, if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, so sorry. We have 1 Week in Paradise, One Last Job, and One More Shot. 1 Week in Paradise follows an influencer who just broke up with her boyfriend, and she's been invited on a brand deal trip that's a couple trip, and she brings along her brother's best friend who highly encourages that, hey, yeah, take him on the trip. So she does. We have One Last Job, which follows, I would say, an interior designer, and she has to work with this guy on this project, and they butt heads a lot, but I did find it really cute and sweet, which is not really enemies to lovers, nor is it rivals to lovers. It's just like, we're in a reluctant situation, but I'm just trying to make the best of it as much as possible, because they don't really want to be in each other's space, but they are constantly, because they're stressed out from work. And the most recent book, One More Shot, that recently just came out, that I'm currently reading right now as of filming this, it's about our main girl from the first book, her brother, and a wedding photographer. Which, again, spoilers, after the first book, that couple, they are getting married and they need a wedding photographer, so they hire Elliot. Meanwhile, our bride's brother Dane just is really into Elliot. And everyone's really like, Dane, you don't bother her. Don't try to hook up with her. Joke's on y'all, he already did it. They had a unsatisfying one night stand. So now they're back in each other's atmosphere again, just getting to know each other. He's really into her. They're both really into each other, but are very stubborn about being in a relationship. And so far, it's really good. I find it really cute, and I'm definitely gonna finish it by the end of today. You know, it's just a little reluctant romance. Like, you know they both want each other, but they're gonna pretend like they don't. Especially long-term relationship. They're gonna pretend like they don't. We all know how it's gonna end. We know how all these are gonna end, right? They're all HEA. Okay, another recommendation for a romance series. It is called the Summer Night series. I've raved about this series so much. I think it is very underrated romance book series. The Summer Night series by Lauren H. May follows 3 friends. The first book is strangers to lovers. They meet when they're on a vacation somewhere else, and then they bring that relationship back into, like, the fold into their real lives. The second book is Friends with Benefits. They are the best friends of the main characters in the first book. And then our third book is another enemies to lovers in a contemporary setting, where we have like these 2 doctors, where his dad owns the hospital that she works at, but she is his superior. So it's a bit complicated. They're not short romance books, but they are sweet romance books. And one thing I do like about how this series was done, that the last book does follow a black main character, but it was co-written with a black author. Her name is Rosalie Rooks. And I think, for me anyway, majority of the time, if there is a author that is not of color that writes main characters of color, majority of the time, like, I'm not going to recommend that to you, nor would I openly seek that out first myself, unless I really enjoy the author's writing and the author has shown that this isn't just them writing just to write. Like, they do enjoy books by authors of color, and if the author in question of writing that type of story is white, if they do show that they support other authors of color and they support black stories and POC stories, sometimes they do want their entire series to reflect that of the outside world, which is writing characters that are diverse, even though they are not diverse themselves. Well, sometimes it can be done in a way where the character could have been any race and it doesn't really matter. And then sometimes those authors can write it in a very stereotypical and racist type of way. The way that this was done, where you have an author of color also write this book as well, instead of just thinking that you have the authority and the bandwidth to write that type of experience. This way is perfect. Like, don't sit there and think that you can just do it all on your own. Sensitivity readers are also great for that type of thing when you want to write that type of story, but the co-writing as an option, why isn't that always the option? Authors out there, like, just go this way. We have a few more on this list. Now we're entering the category where we're getting into my holy grail. Deanna Gray, the writer that you are. Love me some Deanna Gray. I'm not a hockey romance girly. Most hockey romances do not showcase my people, but Deanna Gray has a hockey romance series with just black MCs getting loved on, and I absolutely loved it. This is probably the hockey romance series that I would read. This is my hockey romance. Don't let those other hockey romance girlies fool you. Don't let the ones that harass hockey players in their comment section, don't let them fool you. This is I'm not like them. Don't put me in that category. This is it for me. This is all I got. This is it for me. And maybe some Hannah Grace. But right now we're talking about Deanna Gray. Deanna Gray also has a sapphic book out that follows 2 rival comic book artists that I did recently review in my last reading wrap-up from January. Her books show a lot of representation for bi main characters, and I absolutely love that. Highly recommend Deanna Gray. Another one that I recently just read, if you don't watch my reading vlogs, A.E. Valdez. We stan A.E. Valdez in this household. Do you understand me? She has 2 book series. One of them is finished, called the Rise and Fall series, all black romances. I highly recommend All I've Wanted, All I've Needed, and A Worthy Love. A Worthy Love is one of my favorite books right now. Like, it's been added to the list of one of my favorite books of all time. But she also has this adorable, like, snowy, Christmassy themed romance book series. That's a billionaire romance book series. I call it the 3 Kings series, where we follow the Kings brothers. They have inherited a toy company. They're black, they're rich, It's black romance. I mean, we're anti-capitalism all day, but I will read a billionaire romance. I will read fictional billionaires because fictional billionaires are real billionaires any day of the week. And hopefully, we're gonna get the third book following my favorite side characters in this entire series, North and Aspen. Just give me a release date. Just let me know. Let me know. Miss Valdez, let me know. Next author recommendation, Asia Monique. Asia Monique has a lot of books in her repertoire, but I recently got into mafia romances only through Asia Monique, as she has a black mafia romance book series that at that point was unheard of to me. These books, short, sweet, to the point. All of them are short, sweet, to the point. No, like, hesitation in the relationships. They're immediately like, I want you. I want you as well. So we're doing this. You're down for this lifestyle, this mafia lifestyle? Absolutely I am. Absolutely I'm down for this mafia lifestyle. I'll put your ring on my finger right now. The ring is going on the finger right now. Amazing. We are currently planning the wedding. Like, that's every single book. And I'm not even getting into the mafia complexes in it, the life or death scenarios in the books. It's just every single book, short, sweet, to the point, which I wish all relationships were just like that in real life. Just like, I like you too. That's it, end of story. That's it, end of story. Conflict where? Third act breakup where? They don't exist here. And lastly, we have the queen of it all. My queen. You cannot tell me anything about her. You can't tell me anything because she will stay at the top of my roster every single time. I think I have an arc of her coming in the mail. Kennedy Ryan. Miss Ryan herself. Literally, I love Kennedy Ryan. I love Kennedy Ryan so much. But also Kennedy Ryan knows how to break me in every way possible. If you ever read a Kennedy Ryan book, those triggers are no joke. Look at the triggers. Trust the triggers. I recommend everything she writes. Every book that Kennedy Ryan writes, you should read it. You should read it and just experience how amazing her writing is. A lot of her stories have to deal with very intense topics like DV, SA, depression, mental health, chronic illness. And she has a way of writing where you can see how much thought and research and detail she put into the stories that she writes. Her most intense series is the Hoop series, and that was the second series that I read by her, and they were not lying. It is no joke. The first book I read by her was real, and then I immediately jumped into the Hoop series. Was that the most healthy option? No, it wasn't. Absolutely wasn't, and there were definitely chapters in there that I did have to skip. But all of her books really focus on the main characters going through a healing journey and coming out the other side of that healing journey. Like, coming out of bad situations and learning how to heal from those experiences. And I just think she's an amazing writer. My favorite book that I've ever read by her was Hookshot because I love the relationship between Keenan and Lotus so much. Single dad romance, highly recommended. Just anything Kennedy Ryan does will always be just amazing. So those were my main romance book recs that I have. I have a lot more. And I posted a romance book Valentine's Day thing last year on my Instagram and this year. So there might be some on there that I didn't even mention in this video in particular. If you want to go check those out on my Instagram, it'll probably be posted in stories, somewhere in those stories tabs. But we do have some honorable mentions. My Mechanical Romance, which is authored by Olivia Blake, but is written under an alias. It's an AAPI romance following our main characters that are in a robot club, and they build robots, and they're both really smart and intelligent. The book we have For Vacation Only by Mila Nix, where I think our female main character is Puerto Rican. She is a singer, and she gets invited to sing on a cruise, and our male main character booked this cruise for him and his wife, but he never ended up getting married, and now he's just on the cruise by himself. And obviously they cross paths and maybe form a relationship. Circling Back to You, office workplace romance. I highly enjoyed it. A Proposal They Can't Refuse by Natalia Caña. I feel like that entire series is gonna be really fun, following this grandpa that's really just trying to marry off all of his grandchildren. And then the first book was like childhood friends to strangers to lovers. American Royalty by Tracy Livesay. Notice how I don't recommend the sequel. Only American Royalty. I found American Royalty so cute, between like a prince and a rapper who gets invited to this event that they're hosting, and the prince is like introduced to this whole new culture that he never really noticed, and he's extremely attractive to the main character. He's extremely attractive to this rapper. I like the first book much better than the second book, and this book was heavily inspired by Prince Harry and Meghan's relationship, according to the author, which I feel like there's a lot of books like that. Another one, Talia Hibbert. I just recently, not even recently, over a year ago, I read her Brown Sister trilogy that everybody raves about. That's the one series that you mainly know by Talia Hibbert, and I loved it. I enjoyed myself. I did do a reading vlog. If you didn't watch it, go watch it. And I don't know whether next in her books should I jump into the YA book that she released or this series that I already have on hand because she got new covers for them. And it is labeled as a series, but I don't think the art for most of these books look similar. Like, clearly the art for the first book is very different to the art of the other two books. But we have this series where we have The Princess Trap, The Roommate Risk, which got a new cover that everybody was raving about. But this also got a new cover, The Fake Boyfriend Fiasco. And if you want me to do a reading vlog on this one too, I can. That's only if you want it, though. That's only if you want it. But I would love to, because I already have it on hand. Or if I should jump into the YA book that she wrote. I don't know, but I do like Talia Hibbert a lot, and you probably already know about Talia Hibbert. And lastly, we have Nisha Sharma, where she has a romance book series that each book is based off of a different Shakespearean play. So we have Dating Dr. Dill, which is based off of Taming of the Shrew. And if you don't know anything about Shakespearean plays or anything about Taming of the Shrew, 10 Things I Hate About You, that's Taming of the Shrew. This is also Taming of the Shrew. Each book in the series follows this group of guy best friends and girl best friends, and they're just pairing off in each book, and they're really being set up by the aunties in the group. The aunties in the group are really running the show. But I'm really excited for the third book in the series that's coming out. And I also love modern retellings of Shakespearean plays. I got back into reading about 2 years ago, so I haven't read everything, right? But here are some authors that have romance books that are coming out soon or have already come out that I can't wait to get into. And I also have my Black Indie Author TBR, which is a bunch of just, right now, Black Indie romance authors. And I'm making my reading vlogs about that. And if you don't watch my reading vlogs about that, why not? Tune into those for like background noise. But yes, these were all the romance books that I have on my recommendation list for you. Because obviously I am very qualified to give you these and let you model your lives after them. But yes, these are all the romance books that I have on my recommendation list. Have you read the books that are already on this list? If you haven't, will you read the books that are already on this list? Which books are interesting to you? Which romance books do you think that I should read? Are there any romance books that you think should have been on this list that I didn't include? Or are any of these books that you hated? Comment that down below. I would love to know. And if you disagree with me, you're wrong, but I would still love to know. I'm kidding. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on my other channels, and I'll see you later. Bye!